Hello and welcome. In this tutorial we're going to show how to improve the realism of our game by adding a 3D camera. If 3D graphics makes your life flash before your eyes, don't worry. It's actually surprisingly intuitive. So here I've gone ahead and just imported an image. You'll find this image in the folder in the GitHub repo linked below, but on with the stuff. So we can get this object and we can drag it into the room. So we'll go ahead, open up the game, and we can get this background and put it in here. And currently this background is right at the bottom of the object order. If we drag it up, it will be drawn behind everything else, but this is not the most robust way of working. Really not fun at all. It's not going to work so well. So in addition to this, we can also edit this in code. We can go to the create event, and then objects have a variable named depth, and this tracks their draw order basically. So we can set the depth to some value, and then I wonder if this works. Okay, so the draw order still needs to be set correctly in the room editor to see objects, but the depth value is a robust way of controlling the order in which objects are rendered. If I were to render this right now, all of these backgrounds have a depth of 200. Actually, they're not visible. So that's interesting. What we can do is investigate this further. So we have some layers here, instances and background. If I go to the background layer, we should be able to see somewhere here the background layer has a depth of 100. So I can just set this to something bigger, like 1000. It doesn't matter. And now this is ensuring that these backgrounds will be drawn in front of the background layer. Okay, so just a bit of cosmetic stuff. Obviously, this whiteness is not matching so well. Now, a second ago, I jotted down the actual values, RGB values of this background. It's 155, 151, and 104, just like that. Now we've got that nice seamless background. Okay, cool. So this is all well and good, but what about 3D drawing? Well, I'll rip the band-aid off straight away. This is already doing 3D drawing. Gamemaker is already set up to do 3D drawing. It's just hiding it from us. So we've got our x-axis, left, right, got our y-axis, up, down, and then that depth value that we set is actually our z-axis. So everything's all set up. We just need to basically configure a camera for the scene and make it do 3D projection. So we can actually go to the room, just go off to the side, and here we've got this viewports and cameras tab in the inspector. And we're not going to play with this too much. We're going to modify this in code. But the thing to be aware of is that under the hood, Gamemaker has a number of viewports that we can activate or deactivate, and each of those viewports has a camera. And we can configure this camera, to follow a certain object. But like I said, I do not like the default implementation. I'm going to do it myself in code. It's easier to control. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my player object, and I'm going to add a new event, and this event has to be where are we? There's a few stages here in draw. This has to be a draw begin stage because Gamemaker sort of resets the camera configuration every frame, and we need to get the camera set up before we draw anything. So there we have it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fetch a camera. Like I said, we've got a whole bunch of these, but we definitely have a guarantee of at least one. And then I'm going to apply that camera. Looks like we're doing nothing at the moment, and that's true. We are doing nothing, but in between, we're going to configure that camera to give it a 3D view. Just to verify it's a good idea just to run it, you know. Okay, so things more or less look the same, which is fine. Let's get into this stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the projection matrix. And the way we do this is we'll go matrix, build. Here we go. Projection, there's a few of these. Orthographic projection is basically no perspective, but the one that I want is perspective field of view. That works just fine. So we need to specify a few things. We need to specify the field of view angle. In our case, it's going to be 90 degrees. And then the aspect ratio, the near and the far. Okay, so for the field of view angle, like I said, that would be 90 degrees. For the aspect ratio, we could hard code this, but it's basically the width over the height, which for this should be 16/9. But for the near distance, I'll say anything with a depth less than 0.1 will not be drawn, and anything with a depth greater than 2000 will not be drawn. So there we go, that's our perspective matrix that we just built. But we need to store this somewhere, and we need to apply it to our camera. So I'm going to make a variable called projection. We have that, and then I'm going to apply it. So I'll say camera, set projection matrix. We're going to need to have the camera that we're applying it to and the projection matrix that we're applying. And this is not great. Nothing is happening, but that's okay. It's meant to look like this. The issue is that we've set up the projection, the perspective projection for our camera, but we have not told the camera which object it's meant to be looking at, like how it's meant to be looking in the world. And this is done with a look at matrix. I usually call this a view matrix. And this is done with matrix, build, look at. Okay, now as we can see here, there are like 3 things we need to specify. We need to specify a position we're looking from, a position we're looking towards, and then the up direction. So let's say that we want to look from our X position to our Y position, and I'm just going to go a little bit above our Y position because remember, the Y position is centered around the character's feet. I'm going to go at a depth of minus 160, and I'm going to look at the same point but at a depth of 0. So if a positive depth is out forwards towards those trees, then we're looking at a negative depth. So imagine we're looking from behind the screen where our eyes are right now, if that makes sense. And then what else we need? We need the upwards direction. So I'm going to go 0, -1, and 0, because upwards has no x component. Due to our screen coordinates, -1 should be upwards for y. And yeah, there we have it. So I'm actually going to leave that, and then I'm going to apply that. So I'll say camera set, set the view matrix for our camera. We'll apply that view matrix. So as you can see, we've almost got it, but the up vector was set incorrectly. Even though -1 in screen coordinates is the top of the screen. As graphics coordinates, it's inverted. I don't understand. It's a little bit funky. Yeah, but we can just change that, right? So we may need to change this a little bit, may need to tweak it. For one thing, we're going to need more background. We've sort of run out of background. And then depending on what your taste is, you may want to zoom out a little bit. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with this. So how can we do this? So one way we can zoom out is we can just increase the depth of the position that we're looking from. Here we go. We're now looking from a further distance. This is a little closer to what we had before. Just for fun, don't do this, but just for fun, we can also change the up vector so that it has some different components to it. And this might be something that we could tweak in code dynamically to like make tilting effects and things. Have it like spinning around. This is pretty badass, actually. Now, one more effect that I'm going to show just for fun is I'm going to go ahead and add a foreground layer. Okay, so I'll just set the depth to be negative so it's sort of in front of the player, if that makes sense. And then let's go to my room and fix some of this stuff up. So for one thing, I'm going to add a little bit more background, and then I'll go ahead and add a foreground. So I just quickly whip this up. This does not look great, although we can probably, I've got a few seconds. We can try to tweak this a little bit. Maybe if I just bring that camera in a little closer. But anyway, obviously the foreground is a massive gamble. Like, it's hard to make this look good, especially if we were to sort of, yeah, first up, that's not great. But then we can jump off. Anyway, it's not perfect. I probably wouldn't recommend this, but it does illustrate the camera effect. There we have it. Cool. So there we have it, and that'll be it for this tutorial. But today, we just had a look at making our cameras 3D. Isn't this cool? Isn't this intuitive? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you again soon. Bye. Hi, so I just wanted to take a second to say thank you to all of my channel supporters. If you would like to support the channel, it's $2.50 a month. That's all I ask, but it's not expected. If you are not able or willing to support the channel financially, the best thing you can do is the usual: like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know what you're enjoying, because I am trying to make the best educational content that I can under the constraints. So with that out of the way, really big thank you to Antonin Karet, Dankiel Foles, Declan, Endelon Studios, Isaiah Meyer, Mathieu Derick, Moim, and Shreya. Thank you so much, my dudes. I really do appreciate it. It's fuel for the fire. Keep me going, keep me motivated. But yeah, have a great one, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.